Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us at our Veterans Lunch. Today we come together to celebrate and thank all of you who have served our country. Your courage, dedication, and sacrifice means so much, and we're truly grateful for everything you've done. On your tables, you will notice there are cards. These cards were made by the Ashland Middle School students. Please feel free to take them away with you if you'd like. Please read them. They were really nicely done. We also want to give a big thank you to the Ashland Professional Firefighters Local 1893 and the Ashland Police Association Local 403 for their continued support and generosity.
It's certainly an honor to gather with all of you this morning as a representative of our Select Board and our community at large. I too thank the Ashland Police, the Ashland Fire Department, and the unions for today's luncheon, providing us this opportunity to celebrate Veterans Day. I thought about the incredible sacrifices made by ordinary citizens who answer a national call to do extraordinary things. I had a conversation with a friend who has served and continues to serve our country for 25 plus years. We talked about how warfare has changed in the days when this commemoration began as Armistice Day, marking the end of World War I. In the last century alone, we have seen the evolution from the mud and trenches of World War I to the armored maneuvers of World War II, the air power and ground conflicts of the 20th century, and the complex global challenges of today. Modern conflicts are no longer confined to battlefields with clear front lines. Our defense now takes place across land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace. He spoke of his deployment in the mountains of Afghanistan, and he paused when he did that. It was a touching moment for me to see. I already said that, sorry. Today we speak, when I go off paper here, I get lost. Today we speak of drones, satellite, command, and cybersecurity in a way that we would have been unimaginable to the veterans of past generations. Indeed, the tools of war have changed. The tactics have changed. The technology has become incredibly advanced, requiring new forms of expertise and vigilance. But something hasn't changed, and that is the fundamental character of those who serve. The core values of their courage, integrity, selflessness, and a deep sense of duty remain a constant thread that connects every generation of veterans. From the soldier at Valley Forge, or the sailor on a nuclear submarine, the pilot in the sky, the Marine on the front lines, and the Guardian in orbit, the commitment they make is the same. They write a blank check to the United States of America for an amount to including their lives. Veterans understand that the health of our republic depends upon citizens willing to stand up, work together, and defend the constitutions and safeguard our liberty. Their willingness to put their lives on the line, which our veterans have carried the torch of freedom to every corner of the world. Today, we honor that timeless character. We honor the resilience, the discipline, and the quiet integrity with which our veterans have carried the torch of freedom to every corner of the world. To all our veterans here today, thank you. Thank you for your service. We are forever grateful for your courage and dedication. You have protected our democracy and shown us the true meaning of sacrifice. To all of our veterans, we thank you. We can honor your legacy by living as responsible citizens, upholding the values of you fought for, and continuing to build a more perfect union together. At this time, it is my honor to introduce someone who has lived that life, a former member of the United States Air Force and retired judge, the Honorable Michael Fabbri.
Okay, I got to use the microphone. That's fine. I want to start where Claudia ended, and I had worked it into my comments, which I'll give after the pledge and after we eat. But the phrase about the check, veterans sign that check, and you sign it without regard to the consequences to yourself, your family, your friends, because that's what you do, and that's what we do for our country. So thank you, Claudia, for recognizing that as well. At this time, I'd like to have everybody rise. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. On cover, if you have a cover. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Now, I would like to introduce the Beantown Bound Quartet. They will come up and sing the national anthem. And if guests could rise.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bolt bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? This is my country, land of my birth. This is my country, grandest on earth. I pledge thee my allegiance, America, number for this is my country, to have and to hold. America, my home.
Thank you very much. We are a quartet called Beantown Bound. We're based in Framingham, but we're from all over the region, actually. We've got singing. Oh, I'd like to introduce the quartet. Can you hold on 1 second? Nice to meet you. Never gets old, never gets old. So, from the little town of Mendon, singing tenor, we have Mr. Skip Reel. Our marvelous lead comes all the way from Milford, Mr. Ralph Herbert. I'm singing bass. I'm from Framingham, Corbett Larson, and we have, in addition to being a veteran himself, from the very little town of Ashland, a baritone, Mr. John Mangan.
Looking out there and seeing the fire department and the police department reminds me of my youth growing up in Ashland. My father was a member of the police department for over 20 years, and part-time, and also a member of the fire department for over 20 years. Also, it was a volunteer department back then, and he kept his boots next to his bed. But anyway, he also belonged to a quartet, barbershop quartet, and in 1942, their quartet was singing in a club in Boston, and one of the songs they might have been singing, written in 1940, was a song that the Ink Spots made popular, and it was called Java Jive. I love coffee, I love tea, I love the Java Jive and it loves
Seniors do a good
me.
job at it.
Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, boy. I love Java, sweet and hot. Oats, misses, oats, and I'm a coffee pot. Shoot me the pot and I'll pour me a shot. A cup, slip me a slug from that wonderful mug. And I'll cut a rug till I'm stuck in a jug. A slice of Hawaiian and a raw one. Draw one. Waiter, percolator. I love coffee, I love tea. I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup of Boston and beans. Soybeans, a little bit of green bean. Cabbage and greens. I'm not keen about a COE. Unless a coffee, it is a coffee to me. He likes it hot. Mrs. Olsen, I'm a coffee pot.
Really? That's good.
Pour me a shot and I'll pour me a shot. Slip me a slug from that wonderful mug, and I'll cut a rug till I'm snug in a jug. Drop your nickel in the pot, Joe. Taking it slow, taking it slow. Waiter, percolator. I love coffee, I love tea. I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the Java and tea. A cup, more.
So a friend of mine did a version of that
This
song.
is we're going to do another one that's audience participation opportunity. So pay attention to Ralph, and you may have a chance to
Put
join
it in
the
the
fun.
CD player in the Jeep and it's stuck inside. Turn the radio on.
They say there are three kinds of people in this world. People who let things happen, people who make things happen, and people who sit back and say, what happened? I'm sure all of you want to make things happen, so repeat after me. Hi-de, hi-de, hi. Ho-de, ho-de, ho. Oh, I see some of you want to sit back there and just let things happen. Repeat after me, okay? Hi-de, hi-de, hi. Ho-de, ho-de, ho. Now, folks, here's the story of
Cat Calloway
Benny
Cloud.
the Moocher. Oh, yes, he was a hoedown hoochie coocher. She was the roughest, toughest, frail, but Benny had a heart as big as a whale. Hi-de, hi-de, hi. Ho-de, ho-de, ho. She messed around with a bloke named Smokey. He landed her right into the pokey. He took her down to Chinatown and showed her how to kick the gong around. Hi-de, hi-de, hi. Ho-de, ho-de, ho. Hee-de, hee-de, hee. Hi-de, hi-de, ho. Hi-de, ho. Ho-de, ho, ho, ho. Well, Minnie met old Richard low down. He said to her, you ought to slow down. The Minnie just wiggled her jelly roll, and the preacher is hollered, I'm going to take it as a Fabbri. They took her where they put the crazies. Now poor old man is kicking up daisy. You heard my story, this is my song. She was a real good gal. Heidi, Heidi, hi. Holy, holy, holy. Zozy, zazo, za. Heidi, Heidi, ho. Heidi, Heidi, ho.
We're going to finish with one more song for you. Thank you for having us here. It's always a pleasure. We were here last year. We hope to be here for many more. So enjoy your cake and eat it too.
Storm clouds gather all around, gray skies thunder, now we must part. But after the rain comes the rainbow, this I know in my heart. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Some sunny day. Now keep smiling through, just like you always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know? Tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that if you saw me go, I was singing this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day, someday. We'll meet again someday, again someday.
I'm the town manager here. In a very strategic move, they moved me to the middle of the program after everybody eats because they knew if they put me at the beginning, you guys would still be hearing me talk and being hungry. So this was a very good move on everybody's part. But first of all, I want to just take an opportunity to thank all of our veterans for everything that they've done for our country. You folks, and I was wondering if I was going to go there today, and I think I will. If you'll just indulge me a minute. We talk a lot about service and service to our country, and what does that mean, right? I hope all of our veterans understand that your service is going to be the linchpin that keeps this country together. There's a lot of talk today about just kind of how things are going in the world, and especially here in the United States of America. And for good or for bad, we're here, and we will continue to be here. And we will continue to thrive, and we will continue to be the great country that we are. But for all of our differences and for everything that we find ourselves arguing about, there is one thing that we can all, pretty much all of us, rally around, and that is the service that you provided for our country. The sacrifice of time, the sacrifice of your families, the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice that some people paid in order to promulgate the values that make this country the greatest country on earth and the greatest country this earth has ever known. It is still a great experiment. And, you know, we don't have everything all worked out, nor will we. Not tomorrow, not 100 years from now. But the point is that we keep trying. That's the point. But again, I want to bring it back to the fact that there are a few things it seems like today we can agree on. But again, your efforts, your sacrifice, your service is one thing that holds us all together. And I hope you understand that, and I hope you realize that, and I hope you feel that in your bones. Because it's special. It's special. So on behalf of the town of Ashland, thank you for everything that you've done, not just in uniform, but out of uniform. But especially on Veterans Day, thank you for the sacrifice that you've made in service of our country. We have a lot of veterans here from all different branches. And so I would just like to take a moment right now to identify each branch. And if you did have the honor and privilege of serving in that branch, if you'd please stand up and be recognized, I'd appreciate it. And we'll start with the United States Army. Do we have any Army veterans here? Please stand up. All right. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Any Navy veterans here? Yeah. Thank you, folks. Yeah. See Bob. Bob stood up there. There we go. Including Gabe. Gabe's the only Navy veteran I know who can't swim. So, and he's very proud of that fact. So, very proud of that fact. Any Air Force veterans here? Thank you. Do we have any Marines here? I know we got one. Do we have any Coast Guard vets here? Any Coasties? Yeah. I'm going to take a wild guess and say there's probably not too many Space Force vets here. But if you are, please be recognized. And if not, thank you for your service if you're not here. I also want to recognize our police and fire department who are here helping out. Thank you very much. Men and women of our public safety departments do an excellent job also in service of our town and our country. We're really honored today to have our guest speaker, Retired Judge Michael Fabbri. Who served with the United States Air Force from 1972 to 1976 as a nuclear missile electronic technician and instructor. You probably have some stories, my friend. And he is here today as part of our celebration. And I would ask you all to please join me in welcoming him up to the podium.
Well, welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. This is truly an honor. I was going to start with what Mike did about having everybody recognize who they were and to stand as veterans, but we've already done that. So thank you all for your service. And when I refer to veterans and military members throughout my hopefully brief remarks here, have in mind that I'm also talking about the families behind them, as well as the agencies and other community members that are out there, such as the Veterans Administration, the State Department of Veterans Services, and others that support veterans. Certainly the soldiers and the veterans are the ones that bore the brunt of the time and effort in their service to their country, but we have to remember that there are families behind every one of them, and there are community members. Fortunately, there are families when they left, families those who came back, and then there were the community members and agencies that support them after they return. It sort of dawned on me the other day that I don't think I ever looked up the word veteran and what the root of the word is. I like to know where words come from. So I looked up veteran, and bear with me, and no disrespect intended, but the word veteran means old or experienced. And I was kind of taken aback, but I checked a couple different dictionaries and it said the same thing. And it really has a Latin root, and vetus or veteranus. It was used back as far as 1500 and maybe even back further with the Romans when it first became associated, because the general term veteran isn't necessarily associated with military service, but it first became associated with military service, it looks like around the 1500s in Europe. So it's actually, the term has a recent history as being associated with military service. I'm going to go through some numbers first that I had in my head, but I also had to look up some of them. And these are approximates. I've used a couple different sources, but total number of served or had. So the first number I give you for each war is going to be the number that served and the number that were killed or injured during wartime. Starting with the Revolutionary War, 217,000 men, at least back until I think the Mexican War, although there were some women scattered about there, unfortunately many women these days. But 217,000 served in the Revolutionary War and about 10,000 were killed and or injured. War of 1812, and I'm skipping over some of the smaller conflicts, but War of 1812, 286,000 with 7,000 killed or injured. Mexican War, this is a pretty astonishing number, 80,000 that served during that war, and 17,000 were killed, and that was almost 20% of those who served. Civil War was a pretty big number as well, 3.2 million served, and as many as 700,000 died or were injured. Spanish-American War, 306,000 and 4,000 killed or injured. World War I, 4.2 million served, 310,000. Now that was in a compressed period of time. That was a 2-year period, so those numbers are pretty staggering. World War II, 16.2 million and 1+ million Americans gave their lives or were injured during that conflict. Korea, 5.7 million and 150,000 killed or injured. And these last, the next two, Korea and Vietnam in particular, there are still many unaccounted for, killed in action, missing in action. Korea, 5.7 million. Any Korean War veterans here? We're starting to lose them at an incredible rate. I've got those numbers here in a moment. Vietnam War era veterans here, right? Plenty of those. Anybody? World War II veterans? Okay, we've got a few of those. And post 9/11, Iran, Iraq, and post 9/11. Excellent, thank you. So we've got at least a few of each, reflective of our nation. Korea, 5.7, 150,000, I think I said that. Vietnam, 8.7 million served, 240,000 killed or injured. Desert Storm, Desert Shield, or Iraq, Iran, depending upon how you call it, 2.2 million and 2,500, fortunately, a much smaller number. And then the global war on terror, similar, 2.5 million, about 7,500. And notice, post-Vietnam, and I think this is attributed to what I think Claudia might have been talking about, how warfare has changed, and it's much more technical, much more targeted, fewer civilian casualties and the like, but nonetheless have resulted in deaths and injuries. The number of living veterans left in the United States. We have no World War I veterans. I remember when I got out of the service, I met somebody from the Spanish-American War, and I'm saying to myself, oh my God, that was in a book someplace. But they were still alive in 1976. And a fair number of World War I, they're all gone. We're down to 66,000 approximately World War II veterans. And I think by the early 2030s, we won't have any more World War II veterans alive. Korea, there's still about 2 million. Vietnam, there are about 7 million veterans. Iran, Iraq, 5.5 million. Global war on terror, about 800,000. So a total of only about 14 million left surviving. And in terms of the number of service people in uniform currently, it's somewhere between 3 and 3.5 million. That's less than 1% of our population. So think of that out there, ladies and gentlemen who serve. We are rare, certainly rare birds indeed. In terms of the number of veterans dying each day, World War II, 131 we lose every day. Korea about 600, Vietnam about 400. And then I ran Iraq and post 9/11 veterans. The number obviously is much smaller, mainly because they're younger veterans. But we lose about 20 a day, and most of those to suicide, unfortunately. And these are staggering numbers if you think of it. And many will say they're unnecessary, but that does tell the story about what our nation is willing to sacrifice for its continued existence. In all, about 45 million individuals have served in the United States military since the Revolutionary War, and about 2.5 million have died. And the number of people that have been born and died is about so about 500 million over those 250 years. So roughly 10% have served, and less than 1% have died. Nonetheless, staggering numbers. Mary wanted me to talk a little bit about my journey. Usually don't talk about it, although to my family and kids, not that I'm afraid to talk about it, but I don't like to talk about myself that much, but I told her I would share a little bit of my story. In the context of, I think my story is not unlike many veterans in there, and I'd ask you to think about your own story as we talk about it, why you decided to join, what you did. I was talking with Richard, the Veteran Service Officer here earlier, and he's a Vietnam vet. Thank you for serving. I know you'll know this term, and other veterans out there might know the term REMF, Rear Echelon MF. And we used to joke about me as an Air Force person, particularly in stateside, particularly working underground in nuclear silos, and the other Air Force veterans, all due respect, many of us were REMFs. And we would joke about how, well, yeah, we were sort of in the background, but if we were called in, things were getting rough. Our stories joined with some sort of spark, and my spark, I think, was a combination of things. I grew up in the 60s. I love science. I love nature, that type of stuff. I was just mesmerized with the whole space stuff going on in the 60s. Others in this room may have remembered that. It really was just a fascinating time. I wanted to be an astronaut. Most of actually the first 7 astronauts were all veterans. 3 Navy, 3 Air Force, and 1 Marine was in there as well, John Glenn, as we know. So I think that was a big connection for me. I had an uncle who was Navy Reserve, and that was another piece. But then I think the turmoil of the 60s, watching everything that went on in the 60s, particularly the Vietnam War, the turmoil in this country, it told me that I wanted to serve. I tried to get in the Air Force Academy, and my daughter reminds me of this every day, because she got in 33 years after I wasn't able to get in. I find it ironic that the reason why I didn't get into the Air Force Academy was one of the things that caused me to not get an appointment there, although I went through the process, passed all the physical stuff, got the congressional nominations and the like, but my English SAT score was too low. And then I end up in the legal field, in the justice system, right? Where communication and reading and writing is so important. I don't know how that happened. I guess I turned it around. But I was offered a seat, a slot with the prep school, but being 17 years old and young and stupid, I said, I'm going to go active duty. I'll show them. But the plan was to maybe reapply. So I did go active duty, and I ended up down in Blackland Air Force Base, Texas, in the summer of 1972.